Welcome to Electrified, it's your host, Dylan Loomis. Look, I did not want to make this video, but given the heightened volatility, the unnecessary panic I see on Twitter, and the new Tesla investors that have not yet studied Bitcoin, this video just felt necessary to help shed some light and to hopefully assuage some of the fears and FUD that is being spread around the internet right now. I've included some excellent resources in the description if you'd like to further study this subject. I'm just going to highlight a few key points today. This can also serve as a preparation and context setter in the event a Clubhouse discussion between Elon and Peter does eventually take place. In full disclosure, I started investing into Bitcoin back around $16,000 per coin, and I continue to dollar cost average into the asset class, but I will do everything I can to remain objective in this episode. I know this is an emotionally charged subject, so please just take a deep breath, lay your viewpoints aside for just a few minutes, and let's try to objectively learn what's going on here. And you'll see shortly we don't need to take either of these two too seriously, as they should not be our guides when it comes to fundamentally understanding blockchain and crypto. I'm going to present the views from both Elon and Peter and chime in where I think some commentary is needed. I don't want to come off as a know-it-all expert because I'm not, but I have spent easily a few hundred hours objectively researching Bitcoin and blockchain, so I'm not just a laser-eyed cult member jumping into the latest trend. And unfortunately, whether we like it or not, this debate is going to be taking place at the forefront for the next decade and beyond, so it would be wise to listen and learn, as the implications of corporate and private Bitcoin and blockchain adoption are going to be way bigger than most of us are ready for. And Peter Schiff does reserve some respect, as he was one of the few people that predicted the 2008 real estate crisis, but he is also literally the chairman of Schiff Gold, a precious metals dealer. So if you can't see why he's strongly financially incentivized to spread FUD about Bitcoin and defend gold, then I have a bridge in Brooklyn to sell you. I do fundamentally disagree with some of Peter's comments that I do think are flawed and coming from a surface level understanding at best that are emotionally and not objectively driven. And once again, I want to be clear, if you're a person who really wants to learn the fundamentals of Bitcoin and blockchain to form a view based on facts and not feelings, we should not be looking to Elon or Peter. If you want to truly learn, spend the next few months watching someone like Andreas Antonopoulos. His resources are linked below. And it's because tweets like this from Elon should be a reminder that he is not spending his days researching the blockchain world, nor should he be. But if you don't know that there is an actual coin that is already pegging the dollar and it's not just a rumor, we can be confident Elon is not studying the crypto space. And once again, we can be thankful that he isn't. And we also have tweets like this from Peter where he said, quote, "Bitcoin will never hit $50,000. So look, he's clearly not someone to trust blindly in this space, and he makes plenty of emotionally driven comments that should also remind us he is coming into this space with his own bias. So February 18th, Elon says Tesla's actions buying Bitcoin is not directly reflective of his opinion. Having some Bitcoin, which is simply a less dumb form of liquidity than cash, is adventurous enough for an S&P 500 company. He follows up, however, when fiat currency has negative real interest, only a fool wouldn't look elsewhere. Bitcoin is almost as BS as fiat money. Almost. Now, I do have a slight issue with a few of these comments, but I'll get to these in a moment. Peter then ran with those comments, saying Elon regards Bitcoin and fiat as BS. Peter agrees. Peter just thinks Bitcoin, which is digital fiat, is even more BS than the paper fiat issued by central banks. Gold is not BS, it's real money and better than both. Now, look, trying to be objective, this is not accurate. Bitcoin is not digital fiat. Digital fiat is digital fiat, the monetary supply our banks have in ledgers online that is not backed by an actual paper dollar or a gold bar. Bitcoin is a decentralized network running on blockchain technology secured by cryptography, and the rest of that tweet is his opinion, but all right, let's move on. More in response to Elon. As an engineer, you should know the distinction between a tangible element and a mathematical string of numbers. Gold doesn't need miners to power its existence. The laws of physics do that. Now, I have to stop here. This is also factually incorrect. Gold does need miners to power its existence, as the laws of physics do not execute the laborious process of gold mining. But Back to the tweet. Gold provides owners with optionality to use, to improve, or hold. Bitcoin does not. Now, it's true that some people use physical gold to melt it and make jewelry, and you can't do that with Bitcoin. But if you think that's what's driving its value in today's world, then once again, I have a bridge to sell you. And in terms of use, you can absolutely use Bitcoin to make purchases and do a lot of other things, and the options to purchase will continue to grow as Bitcoin adoption grows over the decades, and as these older generations that are not comfortable with digital technology are phased out of the economy and are replaced by the next generation that is super comfortable with the digitization of the world. And you can also hold Bitcoin, which has minted many millionaires over the last few years. And I would also add that with decentralized finance and the ability to stake or earn interest from holding crypto, this is just one small example of another utility that Bitcoin can have. And one last piece on the use cases for crypto. Think about remittances. What cost immigrants 30% fees through Western Union to send money back home to family, a $500 billion annual industry, by the way, can now be facilitated with Bitcoin for a flat fee that is fractions of the cost by eliminating the slow, centralized banking system. I'd like to see gold do something similar. Peter then goes on to discuss some ethereal topics I'm going to pass over, but pause and read if you'd like. Elon then responded saying, an email saying you have gold is not the same as actually owning gold, and you might as well have crypto saying money is just data that allows us to avoid the inconvenience of barter. The system will evolve to that which minimizes latency and error. And the system is already evolving, and it's just a matter of education for the public. Regardless of our views and personal opinions of Bitcoin, trillions of dollars has already flowed into the network, one that has been steadily securing and preparing itself for mainstream adoption since the white paper was released back in 2008. But then Elon chimed in saying Bitcoin and Ethereum did seem high, which Peter responded to saying, seems high compared to what? That's the problem. Bitcoin has no real value, no use case or utility, and there's no historical comparison that relates the price of Bitcoin to the price of any other asset. You also can't value it like an investment as it has no earnings or yield. So once again, anyone making a statement about Bitcoining having no real value is just not educated about blockchain technology and decentralization. The comment about no historical comparison about Bitcoin price to other assets is also flawed, as that exact same argument could be made about gold when it was first adopted. But I really want to highlight the final comment about you can't value Bitcoin like an investment because it has no earnings or yield. Here's a quick story for you. This summer, I bought a Tiger Woods rookie card for $60 on eBay. Today, it's selling for $1,300 on eBay. It has no yield, it has no earnings. Am I stupid for buying that card because I couldn't value it based on earnings or a yield? Even if for some odd reason not based in logic you think so, I don't care because I did sell it and I did make $1,000 in doing so. So while it's true that you can't value Bitcoin like a stock, the argument is not an actual knock on Bitcoin in the slightest. Look, the main problem is Bitcoin is not digital gold. It's not digital fiat. It's not a store of value. It's not a currency. It's not decentralized finance. It's an entirely new technology, an entirely new asset class, an entirely new phenomenon that does not fundamentally hold true to any of these analogies. So if your understanding of Bitcoin is only based on one of these analogies to something that you already know, your understanding is going to be flawed, and I would strongly encourage you to spend more time learning about it from people like I mentioned, Andreas Antonopoulos. And most recently, Peter says 2 weeks after Elon announced the Tesla Bitcoin purchase, Tesla stock entered a bear market since disclosing the Bitcoin buy. Not an example other CEOs will likely follow. And Elon replied with this emoji, which you can interpret however you like, and honestly, I would love to hear what you think he meant by it below. But this is another prime example of Peter looking for any short-term event to try to prove how he is right and Elon and the Bitcoin community are wrong. It's short-sighted and unprofessional, and historically so far, not accurate. Every pullback in Bitcoin has led to Peter saying how he was right, only to be proven wrong during the next cycle higher. And if you think Tesla stock is moving solely because of a small Bitcoin treasury adoption, you should not be investing in the first place. Does it have an impact? Absolutely. But to act like there are not broader market trends and portfolio allocation limits, profit taking, and 1,000 other reasons that drive market prices on a daily basis is completely unfounded in truth, and it's irresponsible and emotionally charged. Elon's response did set Peter off, and he proceeded to upload a podcast to respond. I did link it below if you want to hear the full episode, but here is one quick clip.
As a result of the exchange between Musk and I did invite Elon Musk to have a conversation with me on Clubhouse. And by the way, if you're not following me on Clubhouse, you should go ahead and do that now on Peter Schiff 1 on Clubhouse. You know, if someone could actually prove, hey, Bitcoin is better than gold, and prove it to me, I mean, that's okay.
Once again, Bitcoin is not just digital gold. It's just a simple analogy that was used to help those who know nothing about Bitcoin to start forming their understanding. But further than that, it's a fool's errand, and they are two very different asset classes. Bitcoin was not created to be digital gold, so to argue why it is inherently flawed. To wrap this up, I think they're both wrong to some degree. Peter makes some fundamentally flawed arguments that don't hold up when examined further, and more importantly, following his advice about Bitcoin over the past few years would have led to you missing out on potentially life-changing wealth. And I do think Elon is slightly in the wrong for commenting that Tesla's actions of buying Bitcoin are not reflective of his opinions. Even if this is true, I do not think it needs to be communicated publicly. Now look, I hate and honestly get irritated when people say how they think Elon should tweet or how he should interact or spend his time. I am not one of those people, and I mostly enjoy his antics as that's what makes him Elon. But there is just no way around the fact that with his platform, tweets like that cause unrest for thousands of people that aren't educated or armed with proper context or foundational investment principles in the world of instant gratification. Now, financially speaking, I absolutely believe a non-zero exposure to Bitcoin is the most shrewd decision, and of course it's my opinion. But I also understand not everyone is going to be a fan or a supporter of that decision, and that's okay. In this polarized society, it's impossible to please everyone, and regardless of what side you're on, we don't have to all have the exact same views on every subject. So let's embrace the discourse, embrace hearing the other side, like actually hearing the other side, and remember that whether Bitcoin goes to 1 million or 0, in the grand scheme of things, it's not going to affect Tesla's ultimate mission. If it goes to 0, sure, they have a bit less capital to deploy and it would be a slight setback, but to not equally weight the possibility to go from 1.5 billion in cash to 5 billion in a few years without really doing anything would also be equally as irresponsible. But what do you guys think about this? If you have a second, I would love to hear your opinion, but I appreciate you guys watching. Please take a moment to like the video if you did. Consider subscribing for more Tesla content, and I hope to see you in the next video. I hope that you have a great day.